Uh, we now like to go on to our next speaker, who is online, who is Dr. Senthil Nathan. He is the Managing Director and Co-founder of Edu Alliance Limited and co-founder of Edorer. He will be speaking about the stackable credentials to soften the impact of the fourth industrial revolution on jobs. Dr. Senthil, over to you.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Doctor.
Very good. I hope you can see the PowerPoint as well. I'm so pleased to join you from Abu Dhabi, where I've been based for the last 31 years. So it's kind of what I'm going to share is a natural progression of the previous two speakers, what they talked about. So I'm glad they talked about the impact on jobs and what we need to do, the fourth industrial revolution. Very quickly, we are a management consulting company dedicated to educational needs in the region, as well as we have a branch in the US as well. So these are our consultants. We are all educators, basically. Each one of us has at least 25 years experience in higher education. And that's the kind of stuff we do. So anyway, we'll come to today's topic. I'll try to keep it within 20 minutes. This is one of the solutions for some of the problems you heard on the loss of jobs, skilling, reskilling, all that. Just one word about reskilling that I hear often. I'm not sure how many of you know, at this moment, there's 200 million students in higher education around the world, 200 million. So as an educator, I'm often a lot more concerned about those 200 million youth between the age of, say, 18 to 25, and where they're going to find jobs. So this also talks about those students. This is from Ernst & Young, who did a bit of work in Australia. And this is a provoking statement. About 40% of existing university degrees will soon be obsolete, and traditional undergraduate and postgraduate degrees could disappear within a decade. I don't know how much it will happen. Some of them will go on to do just for the sake of prestige, and you will always have Harvard, Cambridge, or Sultan Qaboos, some of these top universities. So I want to come to the idea of stackable credentials. You have the world of training traditionally in learning and development in the industry. You have education, and you have online MOOCs and so on. The stackable credentials, as we look at what's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years with the fourth industrial revolution, is kind of a solution that puts all these together. So when we say credential, it could be a degree, certification, badges, micro-credential. But a stackable credential means that it is on a sequence. It's not a random thing. You don't go and learn a tiny course in Python programming or something like that, or an English language course. It is part of a sequence of industry recognized credential that an individual can accumulate over time. I think it could be about 10 years in the near future before someone earns an undergraduate degree. Those 10 years, most likely, most of the time, that person will be working and studying. And this is done in a sequence with the help of the industry as well. So, and as you move along in the 10 years, some of these stackable credentials will also keep evolving. And that's the beauty of this. Today, if you go to a university for undergraduate degree, you study for 4 years. Let's say you're going to do a degree in something to do with AI or machine language learning or something that's fundamental. Before you finish, the industry's norms change, everything changes. So your degree is already outdated by the time you graduate. So these stackable credentials are sequenced. I'll show you a picture of how it's going to be aligned to the academic and employability skills. And they are actually designed. They are not random. It's not a bunch of training companies in Muscat or Abu Dhabi or Dubai, they just come up with these little courses that you just do. It's actually designed with in close coordination with the industry. So that's the picture you might want to keep in mind. This is from the US Department of Education. On one side, you have a career pathway. On the other side, you have the academic or program sequence. I wouldn't say academic, how somebody keeps getting qualification. On the left-hand side, you see somebody getting into an employment, either with a high school diploma or equivalent with some specific skills, and they want to move. I mean, some of the biggest employers today, they employ high school graduates like Amazon. They just take somebody to stack things and pack things and so on. But then how do we move up? You don't want to keep doing this. So this is where, if you see the left-hand side, there is industry alignment, there is counseling. They know now what they want, and they go to the next step and next step and so on. All the time, it'll be most likely be blended. They will do something in the weekend, something in the night. So they will be working and studying most likely. And some of them can take a break for a month or a few months to do a significant credential. The program of study is also sequenced. So this is how I will see a new university designing their degrees over a period of time, but you come and go as you get a job. And the stackable credential means you start getting some recognition. It may be, I gave an example of a current American equivalent, a certificate, associate degree, bachelor's degree, and then postgraduate certificates and so on. But it doesn't have to be like that. It can be even smaller ones. But it is definitely something that's based on credit, that you develop a digital badge where whatever I do as a young man, it gets recorded. So and somebody keeps track of where I'm going. And one of them is what we call as a micro credential or a short learning program. So it's not, it's typically because today the technology, I think one of the previous speakers mentioned that many of the jobs will be in new technologies. But the problem with the new technologies is they are changing faster than even the older technologies. So they're not only making the traditional jobs redundant, that's for sure. They talked about 65, 70 million jobs being lost. But they are challenging the traditional higher education models because the careers are changing all the time. Just 2 or 3 years back, Uber drivers were the big deal. And then when pandemic hit, many of the Uber drivers lost their jobs. So these things are changing all the time. Anyway, a longer duration traditional degree, a 4-year bachelor's or a 5-year PhD, things like that, they are no longer required. Actually, they can be counterproductive. And I believe micro credentials and short learning programs, they call them SLPs, they are one way forward to meet the emerging manpower needs. So this is the idea very quickly. In a micro credential, you will have hard skills and soft skills. I think previous speakers in the morning also, they spoke quite a bit. And you have to earn it. It's not just sitting like this in a webinar and getting a certificate, not at all. You have to have assessments, projects. This may take from a few weeks to a year, but they'll get a digital certificate. It's an accomplishment. So it is not some attending a seminar. And there will be assessment pathway. And the key differences between these micro credentials and degrees are, they'll have employable skills. There will be flexibility, and you can build on smaller achievements, and it will be affordable, cheaper, and it will be flexible, and there will be access to any student anywhere. So these are big differences between that and traditional degrees. And you can see a bunch of advantages. Some of them are delivery on demand. When you want it, you do it. It's not like you wait for the fall semester, you start in August or September and you go through this regular routine. So it will be clearly bridging the skills gap. And you may think it's some kind of a far-fetched thing, but it is already happening. I'll give you some data, some statistics in the US. Close to 700,000 distinct post-secondary qualifications today exist. Of those, 27% are micro-credential or badges. Half of them are from universities, but 27%. And these badges or the micro-credentials, these are the hot ones because there is 190,000 different digital badges that are available in the US. And they basically are designed to endorse or verifiable skills and knowledge in a specific subject. And there's a lot of vendors. And today, thousands of companies, organizations around are using badges, and you can attach it to your digital resume with metadata to describe the skills, not a degree. And um, the universities really need to catch up with the training companies and businesses in this regard. So next 5 minutes, I'll talk about how to do this right, because employers are demanding more and more the mastery of essential skills and the skill gaps and so on. At the same time, they don't quite, we heard in the morning critical thinking, problem solving, all this as if it's new. I have been hearing this for the last 30 years. That has not changed. The problem is, how do you define this? How do you design it? How do you assess? How do you prove they have these skills? And so for these micro credentials or badges to be meaningful to employers and businesses, we have to standardize. There has to be a quality framework. It can't be anybody. And there has been an effort from Rutgers University, and this is how they do. They do the design. There's a clear instructional assessment process for even a small thing. There's stackability is a part that they have to do. And uh, then the competencies are defined in these every little one, what skills, and specifically general knowledge, special skills, personal skills, social skills, these are listed. And the awareness of what the market is requiring. So you attach it to business associations, accreditation agencies, all this stuff. And lastly, the outcome is specifically explained to the employers and then the society. So individual as well should know what's going to happen. This is how you do this right. And so the way to do this is not somebody doing alone. Industry should become all the time engaged in the design of these micro credentials, because you are sitting as a trainer or a faculty member in the university, you don't know what's going on a daily basis. Things are changing, so instructors have to update, but industry should be involved in this because this is fast changing. Industry itself has to get involved, and I'll give you two examples. Adobe and IBM, they are excellent, not only for their employees, but they are also offering these badge programs. IBM's badge programs is very well known, and the 92% of the people who earn IBM's badges, they say they have verifiable skills and they are employable, which is much better than what we can say about most of our degrees. And and the academia, as I said, universities are slow in this regard because professors, faculty members are always slow to change. But again, some of the good universities are catching up. They are partnering with micro credential providers to provide alternate qualifications. Some of the big names are there, UC Davis, Georgia Tech, and so on. And even in UK, Australia, Ireland, they partnered globally with Open University, Dublin City, Deakin, and they are creating another set of standards. And almost I'm close to the end. The governments and the accrediting agencies have a major role to play. I mean, for example, if Oman wants to be a leader, they have a real opportunity to be a leader, not only for Oman, for the Gulf, for the Middle East. We need a country here who can take the lead. New Zealand is an excellent example of taking the lead. They have introduced standards, guidelines, and they actually, their agencies accredit micro-credential, which is very important. And that's an example of New Zealand quality assurance of what micro-credential should be. And lastly, on the part of learners, they can be students, they can be employees. We have to take, you have to take a responsibility if you are a learner. What do you want to do? Is it all about prestige and ego, and you want to go on keep getting degrees, but no jobs, even though you know? So that's where I think learners and workers, we have to take responsibility to remain competitive in the job market. And businesses are increasingly looking at skill sets. This morning in the panel, we heard some of the business people talking about this, and this has been coming out more and more. So this is how I see this. For success of individuals, there's all these 4 elements really have to work together to make sure the stackable credentials work, and they work well. And they have to continue to work. It's not a one-off design, because they have to keep altering, changing, refining. And industry, I think I heard the previous speaker talking about investing in staff development and so on. And academia, I think if they want to remain relevant, we believe many universities, literally thousands of universities and colleges will close down in the next 5 to 10 years. There is no question about that. And if somebody they want to survive, they have to catch up with this. That's basically my conclusion. I mean, there's no point in talking about whether Industry 4.0 is here now. Already millions of jobs have been lost, even in the Gulf, and they will not come back. Even the ones that are lost in the pandemic may not come back. But as we heard before, the new jobs getting added, but the government or the society, we cannot say this is it's a fad, it's going to go away. It will not go away. And what we need is policymakers who are actually visionary, not reacting, but being proactive. The last one is, this is one way, this is not the only thing, but stackable credentials are one smart way to soften the impact of 4th industrial revolution on jobs in this region. In the Middle East, there's already a problem with the youth unemployment, and you all know that. And this is going to make it worse unless somebody is proactive. Thank you.
Thank you, Umar. Amr. Amr. There's a difference between Umar and Amr, even in the spelling in Arabic. Thank you very much to Dr. Senthil. Thank you very much for the presentation.